Over the last decade, there has been a growing debate about the stability of the United States' position as the world's most powerful state. The emergence of new global powers such as China and Russia, combined with the ongoing process of globalization, has created a more multipolar world order. This shift in the balance of power has raised questions about whether the United States will continue to dominate the global stage and who might take its place. So first and foremost, we must comprehend how the United States came to dominate the world. The rise of the United States to world domination has been a long, difficult process that spans several centuries. In this presentation, I will go through some of the significant occasions and influence that led to the rise of the United States as a superpower. So as we are all aware, America's ascendance to worldwide dominance was significantly influenced by the events of World War I and II. The United States became a significant resource and weaponry supplier to the Allies during World War I. After creating the atomic bomb and contributing significantly to the victory over the Axis powers in the World War II, the US became a military superpower. Following the World War II, the Cold War between the United States and the Soviet Union emerged as the two superpowers of the world. So the Cold War between these two nations defined global politics for several decades, with the US leading the Western Bloc against the Soviet-led Eastern Bloc. So basically, this conflict cemented the United States' status as the world's leading military and economic power. Moving on, the United States' economic strength is another aspect that has helped to keep its position stable. With a GDP of nearly $22 trillion, the US has the largest economy in the world. And so the United States has been able to have a big impact on international trade and finance thanks to its economic might. Additionally, the United States has the strongest military in the world, with a budget that exceeds the sum of the defense expenditures of the following 10 nations. The United States has a stable political structure which has helped it overcome several economic and military obstacles throughout the years. This consistency has aided in preserving American supremacy and influence around the world. In a nutshell, these factors, among others, have contributed to the America's global dominance. However, it is important to note that global power dynamics are constantly evolving, and other countries such as China and Russia are emerging as significant challenges to American dominance.
Next, I will express about the issues and conflicts of American global dominance. The first is in terms of their economic concern. The economic effects of America's global hegemony are one of the key concerns. For many years, the United States has been the greatest economy in the world, and this dominance has had both good and bad repercussions. Positively, the United States has been able to help and support other nations, but negatively, it has also come under fire for illegally stealing labor and resources from underdeveloped nations. The global balance of power is changing as a result of greater connections between China and other rising countries and ASEAN's emergence as the center of global commerce. As ASEAN returns to the trade and cultural interactions pattern that were prevalent before the age of exploration, a new era in history is emerging. Russia's aspiration for the area and China's growing control over global supply network make a new age of competitive multilateralism. Next is about their political concern. Another issue associated with American global dominance is its political impact. The United States has been known for its interventionist policy, which have often led to conflicts in other countries. Interventionist policies are policies which show an organization's desire to become involved in a problem or a crisis which does not concern it directly. These policies have also created resentment and anti-American sentiment in many parts of the world. In the United States, Competition with China in the pursuit of United States primacy has become the main driver of national policy. Politically, this includes a desire to continue acting as the world's police force and employing its huge military to settle disputes.
Despite having the most powerful military in the world, there are a number of problems with American military superiority. The United States has by far the greatest military budget in the world. While the United States can continue to dominate the military thanks to this level of spending, it has also put a heavy financial strain on the nation and may cause resources to be diverted from other crucial sectors. Some academics have criticized the strategic approach used by the United States military, claiming that it has placed too much emphasis on conventional military operations and has failed to adequately respond to emerging forms of conflict like terrorism and cyber attacks. In terms of technology, although the United States military continues to lead the way in technical advancement, there are worries that it may be losing ground in some areas, particularly in relation to cutting-edge technologies like artificial intelligence and unmanned systems. Over time, this can weaken the nation's military superiority. Overall, even while the US military continues to be the strongest in the world, there are a number of issues that must be resolved if it is to sustain its superiority and adapt to new types of conflict in the 21st century.
The theory that involved in our topic is neorealism. As we all know, neorealism paid little attention to the individualized side of social life. Neorealists, on the other hand, argue that the condition of anarchy can solve and explain more of the conflict in international relations. One of the primary distinction between realism and neorealism is, when it comes to the neorealist politic, we can observe that it is not an autonomous domain. Neorealists oppose defining economics and culture. Neorealism has completely anarchic personality. Unlike realism, it is not hierarchical. In international relations, neorealism adopts a distinct approach to explaining the nature of the conflict. It believes that interstate conflict is caused by the lack of central authority, although the neorealists believe in developing ways to address conflict in international relations. This approach is more inclined towards security. Next, it consists three main principles to create this theory. And I will explain the first principle, which is America's ability to retain global domination is dependent on its ability to maintain a favorable power distribution among other states. This could include the tactics such as retaining military superiority, creating economic interdependence with other governments, and forming alliance with other powerful states to counter prospective challengers. So to explain further, I can give one example that relates to our principle and our topic, which is they lose the bipolar system of Cold War 1945 to 1989 to the unipolar system of American Empire 1989 to 2008, and also they have to transform to the current multipolar system typified by the rise of China. Deepening ties between China and other rising countries, as well as Asia growth as the heart of global trade, are changing the global balance of power. So, as Asia returns to the pattern of business and cultural exchange that existed prior to the age of exploration, a new era of history is emerging. Before I end my part, I will explain a little bit why I can say that this principle is related to our topic. Is when someone who become the next American global dominance, they must have 5 main characteristics to become the next dominance. So the first one is the actors must act to develop their capabilities while negotiate rather than fighting. The second assumption is they will fight rather than pass up an opportunity to improve their talents. And the third point is they choose to stop fighting rather than eliminate an essential national actor. The fourth, referring to the coalition formation concept, is that they act to fight any coalition or single actor that seek to dominate the rest of the system. And the last one is they allow defeated or limited essential national actors to re-enter the system as acceptable role partners.
The second principle of neoliberalism is anarchy. Anarchy refers to any country or community that is temporarily or permanently under no system of governmental control that can regulate the behavior of the states and prevent the conflicts between them. Also, anarchy explains why states behave the way they do in the absence of a higher authority. An example that we can see in real-life cases is about Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter movement began when the shooting deaths of African American teens by a police of the United States. The supporter point to the fact that the black people are more likely to be shot by the police, and they claim that they face a discrimination in the United States. And then the President of the United States declared the city to be in a state of anarchy and dispatched federal law enforcement agents to restore the order. The Federal Bureau of Investigation, which is FBI, has classified acts of violence in the pursuit of anarchy to be a form of domestic terrorism. The last principle of neoliberalism is building up the military capability. United States remains the most powerful country in the world, with a military budget that is significantly larger than any other country. United States military has advanced the technology and capabilities and maintains a network of military alliance and partnership around the world. But at the same time, China has started to growing the military power and the economic power. As an example that we can see is China has been rapidly modernizing its military in the recent years and has made the significant investment in areas such as cyber capabilities, space technology, and naval power. China military modernization is certainly aimed at enhancing its global influence and challenging the United States. It's unlikely that China will become the top global dominance through the military power alone. But at the end, United States remains the world preeminent military power with the significant capabilities because China need to excel in all of these areas to become a truly dominant global power.
Hi, my name is AFIQAH and I will explain about the analysis of the issues which regarding its impact and lesson learned from the American global dominance. Firstly, referring to the economic concerns, we could see that Chinese-led globalization has already begun to take over America's rule-based order throughout nations that are emerging. The territory of China's sphere of impact will expand as it utilizes this system of global institutions, turning the balance of power towards its direction. Hence, China may be catching up in terms of economic output as measured by GDP. But the United States continue to control the financial architecture that drive the global economy, allowing it and its allies to rapidly turn off the valve and isolate even huge economies like Russia. Next, based on the political concern, the United States irrationally judges the other countries' democracies and produce a false narrative of democracy versus authoritarianism to promote dissatisfaction, separation, rivalry, and confrontation. The United States assembled the very first Summit for Democracy in December 2021, which generated criticism and protests from several countries for mocking the spirit of democracy and dividing the world. The best approaches to achieve this goal in the new age of global politics is to support an international order based on democracy, human rights, and free enterprise to boost the zone of peace and prosperity that the United States helped establish in Europe to every other region of the world. Lastly, in terms of military concern, we could conclude that military differences between the United States and the rest of the world are increasing. Unlike most other countries, the United States defense budget is fast increasing. The requested rise in defense spending for this year is more than the whole Chinese defense budget. During the Korean War, Vietnam War, Gulf War, Kosovo War, Afghanistan War, and Iraq War, the US used massive quantities of chemical and biological weapons as well as cluster bomb and so much other bombs that causing massive damage to civilian facilities, countless civilian casualties, and long-term environmental pollution. That's all from me. Thank you.
We will go to the next section, which is recommendation. Firstly, through economic concerns, negatively, the US has come under fire for illegally stealing labor and resources from undeveloped nations. So, some recommendation that can be done is by encourage fair trade practices. International trade policies should be designed to promote fair and equitable trade practices that benefit all parties involved. This could include measures to prevent unfair competition, such as anti-dumping laws and promoting labor standards that protect workers' rights. Secondly is political issues. The issue of the US adopting interventionist policy that results in conflict in other nations and stoking animosity and anti-American sentiment is complex and multi-phase. So, some recommendation that can be suggested is multilateralism. Another strategy is to collaborate more closely with regional organizations and international organizations like United Nations to resolve conflicts and other concerns. This can promote agreement and lessen the impression that the US is acting unilaterally and pushing its own agenda on other countries. So, multilateral initiative may help in distributing the burden of tackling the global issues, which may reduce the resentment that some countries may feel towards the United States. Third is military issue. The US military strategy approach has faced criticism for being too focused on conventional military operations and not adapting effectively to new forms of warfare such as cyber attacks and terrorism. So, here are some potential steps that could be taken to address this issue, which is rethink military doctrine. So, in order to reflect how fight is evolving, the US military needs to update its doctrine. So, in order to deal with non-traditional threats like cyber attacks and terrorism, it may be necessary to develop new strategies, tactics, and technology. The military must be proactive in spotting new threats and modifying the strategy to counter. In conclusion, United States has been the greatest dominance either in terms of economic, political, and military. Moreover, it is important to secure all the concerns and issues to ensure America become the global dominance for now and the near future. Lastly, the suggestion gives a lot of benefits and it must be implemented so that the issues can be improved and solved. That's all from us. Thank you.